Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and today we are going to go over my 2024-2025 free-to-play farming guide. So let's jump into it. Before we start, I just wanted to say that I've been wanting to create one of these for a while, so I did start a free-to-play guide just to go through the first 1 to level 85 playthrough. I just finished that, so I wanted to go into and create my guide now because I feel like I'm ready and I have the knowledge necessary to be able to give you that good guidance from 1 all the way till end game or late game for wherever you choose to start leaving this guide. So let's go into the first things that once you join the game that you really need to prioritize, and that's join a new guild. You can join a new guild pretty much within the first hour. If you sit down and you just play the game, you should be able to hit the required level to join a new guild. I think it's level 25 within at least an hour, because it just accelerates you really quickly. Once you find a new guild, and I'm going to link in the description a link for a Discord that has new players. What I did for my free-to-play guide is I ended up joining a guild that did not know who I was, that I was a content creator. I was just some random level 25 to 30 player who promised them that I can give them 600 tickets, and I joined a guild that was able to do the normal Sith raid. And then we ended up moving to Heroic, and now I'm in a guild that can do the speeder bike raid. And I did that with absolutely no connections towards content creation, so anyone can do that. So the first priorities once you join a guild is to start meeting the requirements for raids. If it's a normal Sith raids, you just need a 5-star character. If you're doing heroic raids, you need a 7-star character. If it's the speeder bike raid, then probably the easiest way is just to have a 5-star Hera or some other rebel or empire character that can do the raid. So that's probably the easiest way to do it, and that's how I get my participation. Next we have TW. So TW rewards aren't that great, but it's nice to not leave resources on the table. So the minimum requirements you're going to need for TW is going to be the 2 teams of 10 characters with 6,500 plus GP for each character. We'll go over what characters you should have in the beginning. And then TB, pretty much you can just join right away, just deploy. So what you should be doing when you're leveling is prioritizing one team first. So in the beginning, you're going to have some characters that are just like random junk. Some are great, some aren't that great. Just build up what you can in the first 40 levels or so. It really doesn't matter. You just need to be able to get through the events as easy as possible. It's important, though, as you're leveling from 1 to 85, that you focus only on one team and then a second team. Do not try to stretch your resources amongst all the characters that you have, because you're going to run out of characters, you're going to run out of training droids. This is a resource management game. In the beginning of the game, we have 0 resources, so you need to prioritize one team, and then once that team is kind of established a little, like gear 8-ish, gear 7, then you can start putting resources towards that second team slowly, and then you start taking those 2 teams up and all the way up until you hit level 85. That doesn't include shards. You can shard farm to your heart's content, whatever you can, but I would recommend that. All right, and then your first main priority of your account, other than guilds, should be the ship Zeta challenge. We'll go over that later on what ships I recommend you to build, but pretty much that ship Zeta challenge should be the first thing that your main goal is, because Zetas are so important, and that's 6 Zeta materials a week that you can get from that free just simming. When you're leveling from 1 to 85, I recommend always clearing the battles that you can clear, then focus on the shards that you need to get, and then farm gear. It's important once you hit level 50 though that you don't ignore mods. Just play through the mod battles, get through them as fast as you can up to level 8. You should have allies, and it's very important that once you can start getting allies, that you add as many allies as possible. You can do this through Reddit, through Discords. There's tons of resources that players, even me, if you shoot me a friend request, I will accept your friend request, as long as you're within 1 to 85, because that's the best way to clear through all these battles. Is usually not the merits of your characters, it's by using those high level players to beat them for you. And that's what I did from 1 to 85, as I always had a very strong ally that was able to help me beat it. And then as you're leveling from 1 to 85, quests are your main priority until you hit level 85. There's going to be quests that give experience, insane experience, and that's how you level so quickly now. Before, it used to take many months to be able to hit level 85. Now you can do it within 1 month, and that's actually very, very quickly for this game to hit pretty much start like to run through the tutorial and to start playing through most of the game modes. So very, very easy to hit 85. I'm very impressed with the changes that they made and the characters that they give you. I thought they did a great job with that. All right, so your first team that you're going to build should be Phoenix. This team is very farmable, and there's only 2 hard nodes here that you're going to have to farm, which is Captain Rex and Sabine. The rest of these 3 you can get through shipments. So Kanan, Chopper, Hera, you can get through shipments. If you wanted to farm Hera's node in the beginning, you can, because it has the ship on it, the Ghost, so you can continue to farm Hera there. So this should be your main team, especially once you unlock Rex. It's going to take a few days because he is accelerated now though, so that is good. But once you at least unlock him at 2 stars, this team really just takes off and starts running. Even once I unlocked Galactic War Battles and before I had Captain Rex, I was able to get through all my Galactic War Battles. Actually, I did not lose a single Galactic War Battle all the way to 85, and now I can sim it. And the primary reason was this team. It is just a very, very strong team. I think one time I had to sub them out for a Emperor Palpatine, Mara Jade, Darth Vader team for shocks to get through a baby Cal because he was healing too much. But I think this is a phenomenal team. You can take it all the way to relics. You can invest in it all the way as much as you want, because they have 2 assault battles on their own that they can finish at least CT1. CT2 is a bit of a stretch for them. For those, I've been able to do the Rebel one for CT2. It's not 3 stars, and I've also been able to do CT1 for the Night Sister ones for them, but not Challenge Tier 2. But Challenge Tier 1 is your main goal for assault battles, at least to start getting that income. And assault battles are very, very important. We'll go over it a bit later, but all my philosophy, and if you look at my hierarchy of needs, it covers what I value as importance in this game, and assault battles I value very heavily. So this team, an amazing team to start out with. All your resources should go into this team. They don't need to be super high gear. I think by the time I hit 85, they're on average like gear 7 to 8, but I'm going to continue to invest in them because they're a phenomenal team. The next team that you're going to be building, your second tier team, is going to be Empire. So a lot of these characters you can unlock with your Phoenix. So you can unlock Emperor Palpatine. You can also unlock Thrawn with this, and you can slot Thrawn in here too if you want to. The reason why I have these 6 characters here are they are going to lead up into your first unlock of Executor. So the Executor is going to be our main farm for this account, and the main thing that we're going to be the biggest, like the main big farm that we're going to hit towards. And Empire is just a really good early game characters as well. Grand Moff Tarkin on the ground is not that important, but you're going to use his ship For the Zeta challenge, it's also going to be your main capital ship for a long time, and that's why he's here. The TIE fighter pilot is going to be a pilot. He's also not a bad ground character. Darth Vader is pretty much going to be given to you. You can finish off the rest of his shards through the Fleet Arena shipment. And then Mara Jade, a little weird caveat for her. So you don't need to take her to 7 stars. In the beginning of the game, you're going to be prioritizing other things with your energy, but there's going to be a brief period of time where you can farm her to 3 stars. You can easily take her to like gear 7, gear 8, gear 9. You don't even have to give her a lot of investment. She doesn't need her Omicron. She doesn't need her Zeta. And even at 3 stars, and just like 2 omegas, she is fully functional, and Emperor Palpatine and her pretty much make a whole team, because once you hit 85 and you're in Grand Arena, you're going to want to separate Emperor Palpatine, Mara Jade as a team, and then Darth Vader as a team. Even in Easy Conquest, I separate these two because of stamina. So you're going to want to have Darth Vader here as your first relic, as your first Zeta with his merciless massacre, and then Emperor Palpatine, Mara Jade here are going to run their own team, and those two are going to be able to take on at least 2 offensive teams for you. So very, very good characters, easily what you want overall, and then they synergize really well with what we're going for. I used to advise new players to go straight for Imperial Troopers. The problem with Imperial Troopers right now is it takes so long to farm them, because a lot of them are hard nodes, that by the time you hit level 85, there are other things and better things that you can farm. So this Emperor Palpatine with Mara Jade, Darth Vader actually flows straight into what our main farms are, and they just are easier to attain, and they immediately are good. Where the Imperial Troopers, they do kind of need their Zetas and their higher level of abilities to be like choice the top tier of what you want. So I would say we will loop back to Imperial Troopers, but they're not going to be your first team. Just a straight up Empire team is going to be your first team, that is going to split into 2 once you hit level 85. All right, so that ship, the ship Zeta challenge tier is our main first goal that we're going to hit. So this is the character or the ships that I recommend farming. So a lot of these, as you can tell, you're going to be able to farm in the Galactic War shipments. So that green shipments, you're going to be able to get the bomber, which you can farm on a node as well with Queel. You're going to get a lot of these TIE shards with the Darth Vader ship. This TIE fighter pilot you can get in shipments for fleet shipments, also in the green Galactic War shipments. So they are going to give you a 4-star slave 1. You're going to have to 1 farm it on the fleet node, but 2 also in the shipments for the fleet shipments. So, and then the TIE silencer, I actually farmed this first. So my Cantina energy went straight into the TIE silencer and crew, because that was my like early game tank, and then I just got this ship to 5 stars. So I farmed it to 5 stars and then I moved on. But this is going to be the first 5-star fleet that you get. It'll get unlocked Grand Moff Tarkin, and then you're going to need 1 more ship to be able to do the challenge. So here's your options on the ships that you can do that are very approachable. There's Biston's U-Wing, which isn't super amazing because you want to use that Cantina shipment store for other things. Like first you need Chopper, and then you need Boba Fett. So those shards are kind of spoken for a while. So I wouldn't recommend Biston's U-Wing. First Order SF TIE Pilot, you can farm very, very quickly with your Mark 1 from raid currency. So this is a high pick choice. You also farm the pilot through that, and you don't need him super high stars or anything. You just need the 5 stars for the ship. It's pretty much to unlock the event. So this is a top choice, a good recommendation for me. And then if you want to, you can farm Ghost and Phantom. And you farm Sabine on the same node as Phantom, and then Hera on the same node as Ghost. The problem is Hera you can farm through shipments really fast. So if you want any of these, you can also farm these shards with the fleet shards in shipments. So those fleet shipment shards, you do need to prioritize with General Grievous and the other ships you need for the Executor. So like it's up to you if you want to do this. I'm actually doing this. I think I'm using Phantom 2 because I'm still farming Sabine, so I'm getting stars through the shipments for Phantom 2, and then I'm going that way. I just felt like I didn't want to use the Mark 1 for that. So you can do that. You just have to make sure that you have the enough that you can buy the Razor Crest anytime it's in there, and General Grievous, because that's a very important ships that you need, and it takes about 6 months to farm them out of there. So anytime you see them, you have to have at least a few in there. So I save 4,000 credits minimum just in case those two are in the fleet shipments to buy them. All right, so our big farm, like the first thing that you're going to farm once you hit 85, other than the Zetas, the Empire, and the Phoenix, is going to be the Executor. This is the main big farm that we're going to do. It's going to take a long time to farm them because there's a lot of hard nodes in here. You have to farm boss, you have to farm boss ship, you have to farm slave 1, you have to farm Boba Fett, which actually that farms pretty quick. You have to farm the IG 2000. Vader ship is actually pretty quick. The TIE bomber is a pilotless ship, and that's really quick. And then the actual TIE fighter pilot is really quick with his ship as well. But you're going to have to farm Ebon Hawk and Xanadu Blood. So those are pretty much at least 5 stars for Ebon Hawk. You can do this once you fully unlock the Executor, but you're going to need the Ebon Hawk up and running. And then Xanadu Blood is a must. So it's not a straight requirement, but it's a soft requirement because you need the Xanadu Blood to make the Executor perform. It's one of the starting 3 in triple attacker or the normal attacker. So you need the Xanadu Blood in here. All right, so this is the requirements for the Executor. It's actually not that bad if you look at what it gives you and how much fleet crystals it's going to give you. And why we are prioritizing the Executor is because we need to get fleet crystals, and that's why it's your big farm, and everything that you do in the beginning game should be shaped towards pushing towards the Executor. Even like the first days that you're in, you start being able to farm shards for it, and you really should, because there's a lot of moving pieces for it. So you're at the R8 level, you're going to need Piet and Boba Fett. So it's going to be hard to get those R8 materials when you are in the early game, and you're going to have to pretty much spend crystals to get your first R8s for Piet and Boba Fett. You can buy the 500 crystal packs if they loop around, or you can buy them out of weekly shipments for those materials. But I do have my amazing guides that show you how you can farm all these relics, so I'm not going to touch on that too much. Just go watch those amazing guides that cover all the different resources and how to effectively and efficiently farm all these. But R8 for this tier, R7 for Darth Vader, and then R5 for Dengar, IG-88, and Bosk. So you can leave them at this relics if you want. We are going to get a new ship for Dengar here shortly, and then the mandatory farms that they aren't hard requirements. Technically, they could be Gear 1, Level 1 when you unlock the Executor, but you need Cad Bane, you need Beskar Mando, you need them at Relics. Minimum Relic 3, Relic 5 for Cad Bane. Cad Bane's ship needs to be 1 speeds faster than the Razor Crest, so it's going to be a little touch and go. This is the relics that I have on my main. You can go higher. You really should not go lower than this. And if you do choose relic 3 for BAM, then you are probably going to need the Zetas on there. If you don't have the Zetas on there, you can go R5. R5 is fine, and you can still get the speeds right. But this is the requirements for the Executor. You're going to go straight for this. This is your first relics should really be these guys. Like, you can stop Phoenix at a lower level and the Empire relics and everything, but the first shards that you should be really investing into relics should be these Executor ones, and they're going to feed into some other things, because like Piet's good, Vader's good, all these are good. This bounty hunter team isn't bad, but this should be your main farm. Once you have these guys where you need to be, then you can start putting your relic material on your Phoenix if you wanted to take them to relics, which is recommended as well. So all right, so this is the first team that you should be farming as far as the shards and their ships are your main priority, because this team is going to be needed at relics. So the other team, as far as the BAM requirements, you do have to start farming them and getting their shards as fast as possible, but these shards should be prioritized over these. The problem is that BAM's requirements are able to be acquired a lot quicker. And then a real quick caveat on where you should farm these. So Quill is going to be a hard node. You're going to have to farm IG-11 on a hard known with Grief. So Grief, it is in shipments, but you're going to have to farm IG-11 anyways. So I would recommend not farming Grief out of shipments. Just farm them the same time as you're farming IG-11. There's no reason to waste those Galactic War shipment currency on Grief, because there's so many ships that you need to get out of there that you really do want to prioritize those ships first before you buy characters that could be farmed anyways, where you'll just be getting shard shop in the end. And then the Mandalorian, he does have a hard node, but I would recommend farming him through shipments, because if you can farm something through shipments, you really should, except if you're going to be farming something else on that node at the same time, and then it just doesn't make sense. And then these characters, Boba Fett, you'll get out of shipments. Cad Bane, you'll get out of shipments. The rest of these have hard nodes, and you'll just have to farm them as best you can. All right, so once you're working on those, pretty much once I finished my 5 stars on TIE Silencer, I started working on taking Padawan Obi-Wan, Master Qui-Gon to 7 stars. You don't have to take them all the way up to Relic 9 or Relic 7 right away, but you should take them up at least to 7 stars. It takes a while before your characters are ready for relics, so you can use all the cantina energy that you're getting or refreshes that you need for the quests that we inevitably get, and you can put them into these characters. So take them first, you unlock them, then you take the 1 to 5 stars. Usually I prioritize Padawan Obi-Wan first. So Padawan Obi-Wan to 5 stars, then Master Qui-Gon to 5 stars, then Padawan Obi-Wan to 7 stars, then Master Qui-Gon to 7 stars. Once you have the Executor, then you come back and you can relic 7 these guys and then leave them there for a while. Once you're done with this farming guide, then you can take them to R9, or at least once you have Jabba up and running, then you can take them to R9. All right, so once you have your cantina nodes done, you have your shards you have farmed for Executor, and you may have some extra energy, some extra shipments left. Once you start running through and having some extra resources, you should start side farming the Geonosians. This team takes absolutely no Chirotech. It only takes 1 Zeta, and you're going to want these at gear 12. 1 for their ships, also because your main goal, once you start actually being able to join a decent guild, should be dark side TB. You should be aiming for a guild that gets a lot of Watt shards, and they're going to want you to contribute towards those Watt shards, so you are going to have to take the time to just farm these as much as you can, because that Executor farm is going to take a long time. I may have ran through it pretty quickly, but it's a lot of moving pieces. It takes a long time to farm all those ships, to farm all those characters. So it's going to take you to get all the relics. So it's probably going to take you at least, I don't know exactly how long, probably 9 months, 6 to 9 months. In that time, you're going to push through certain bottlenecks, and shards and shipments and all that stuff you're going to get through pretty quickly. So you're going to side farm these once you have the ability to. So once you're like, okay, I finished all my requirements for the Executor and Phoenix, what do I do now? Then you start moving towards these as a side farm because they're so easy to farm. All right, and then I did mention that in the fleet shipments, you should be farming the Grievous, because your first get to fleet is going to be Malevolence. So once you start having extra energy, you need to be purchasing the Hyena Bomber and Vulture Droid so that you can get this fleet up and running. Even at gear 12, with everyone with these pilotless ships, even a 5-star Malevolence, it's a very, very strong fleet. So you're going to want this up and running as your second fleet as soon as possible. Again, this is a long-term side goal, but your goal should be 7 stars for all these Geo ships, and then 7 stars pretty much for everyone as your main farm, or a main side farm. Once you're finished with the Executor and you side farmed your Geos, like legitimately finished, then your next main goal should be Imperial Troopers and CLS Rebels for their assault battles. So Imperial Troopers has 2 assault battles that you can complete both with this top team, and then CLS Rebels is just a phenomenal team. You're going to use them in every single game mode, TW, TB, Grand Arena, and Conquest especially. Like, these guys are just going to kill it for you. So Imperial Troopers is your first one, because you're going to want to get them up and running for those 2 assault battles, because assault battles are very important towards your income, and having that fleet income from the shards from your fleet shard is going to be your main priority. But your second priority after that is going to be staggering assault battles with main big farms that you're going to be doing. So you're going to want to farm General Veers to gear 12. Piet is going to be R8 from the Executor. You are going to want to put both Zetas on him, 1 for that Executor speed, also 2, he needs both. So the Imperial Trap is the first one that you're going to want, and then the second one, the days on his orbital strike, is going to be very important, because it's going to enable you to clear challenge tier 3 for the one where you go against rebels, and Baze is going to be in there because you have to daze Baze. So Colonel Stark is a requirement for C. He's very easy to farm, so I would say gear 12 Colonel Stark is a good one. Relic 5 on Dark Trooper and gear 12 on Range Trooper, and this team is going to be fully functional pretty much for forever, for what you need them for. I can use them to clean up Jabbas, I can use them to clean up Lord Vaders, they can clear Geos and TW, they pretty much clear Sith Empire teams, they clear Bounty Hunter teams, they do a lot for me, and they're going to do a lot for you too. And the reason why I say this specific team is it's going to give you long-lasting return of investment, where if you go with something like the budget Empire team, where you go like Veers, Piet, Range Trooper, and then low gear Gar and ISC, that'll do one of the assault battles for super cheap with no Chirotech, but it's not going to give you the long-lasting effectiveness and viability as this Troopers team is going to give you. Next, we have our CLS Rebels. So CLS Rebels is a long and hard journey to do. So you're going to have to first farm CLS, which requires R2-D2, Stormtrooper Han, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker Farm Boy. So farm all those shards. You're going to need a team of Empire to unlock R2-D2, and they can be done at like very, very low gears, like gear 7 to 9 or something, to unlock CLS. So it's a very easy farm. It just takes a little bit, and these characters are kind of dated. So Stormtrooper Han, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker Farm Boy like aren't the best characters. R2-D2 and Obi-Wan Kenobi have endgame viability. So you're also going to have to farm C3PO. This is the team that I would recommend for farming C3PO. So you are going to have to farm the hard nodes for Princess Nisa and Wicket, which I'm sorry, I know, but Wicket has a Zeta event. He's required for Princess Leia, same as Princess Nisa is required for GL Leia as well. So I highly recommend these two, even though they're hard nodes, they're both accelerated. And if you have this team and you have the Zeta on Chief Chirpa, then you can do this at very low levels. I don't know what level, probably like gear 8, gear 9. I'll make a guide once my free to play is here, but it's very, very approachable and easy to do if you have this team at super low levels. Next, you're going to have to get Chewbacca. Like, Chewbacca is going to be, this is the team that I would recommend. You're going to have most of these at relics. You could probably just use the relics from Executor as well. But I would recommend getting Grief and Mando up and running too, because they're excellent bounty hunters. Like, I think they're worth the investment to, especially if you're free to play, just farm them up to relics and give them a Zeta each. And they are an amazing bounty hunter team, and you're going to use them pretty much for a very long time. Even in endgame, they clean up a lot of things. They're very important towards having the depth in your roster to clear through to clear through your enemies. They also can clean up they are also a vital part of the Lord Vader counter that you're going to need later on. So the other ones that you're going to need for the team with the CLS, so 3PO and Chupio is just on a hard node, you just farm him, and then Han Solo you buy with Mark 1 currency, so it's very quick. The Zetas I would recommend for them are all three on Luke Skywalker. I would probably put his first two on first. It binds all things, and I forget what the other one is, but it's the turn meter ones. The tenacity ones is going to be probably the fourth Zeta you'll need, but I would put the two turn meter ones, Han shoot first, then Chewbacca's loyal friend, and then 3PO and Chupio's. And then at that point, C3PO's one on his confused, so his special, not his unique, is going to be important too. The one on his unique that gives him 3 stacks of his ability is not that useful. It's more of a luxury, same as Chewbacca's, that prevents I forget exactly what it is, like probably ability block in days or something. They have so much tenacity that it's not that important actually. So I would say just skip it. But this is the team that you're going to be using for CLS pretty much for forever. The relics, you can take them to relic 3 immediately and then leave them there. Once you farm, all these characters are required for a GL. So once you farm that GL, then you're going to increase their relics, and they'll be the relics that you see on the screen here. But relic 3 at the beginning is fine, and then you can work from there. And then the relic priority, I would probably do like CLS, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Chupio, and 3PO and Chewie, and then C3PO last as far as the order that you relic these up. All right, so a side farm. You should side farm once you have extra resources. Darth Traya, Darth Nihilus, Savage Press, and Darth Sion. So Savage Press is going to be, I would recommend just taking him up to relics. They're going to be very cheap. Relic 5, give him a Zeta, give him his Omicron. Same thing as Darth Traya, gear 12 on her, and Darth Nihilus is fine. And give her Zetas and Omicron. It's going to pay dividends for a very, very long time as a side farm. If you wanted to at this point as well, you're going to need him pretty soon, or need her, is Wampa. So if you wanted to side farm Wampa, we'll cover her later. But as a side farm, this team is amazing, and you're going to want these guys when you start running into trouble and you need some more depth in Grand Arena. Darth Sion, you can take him up to relics if you want. You can totally ignore him if you want to. I don't use them at all. I know sometimes it's useful to be able to have the trio of Traya, Nihilus, and Sion, and then Savage can go with someone else. But essentially, the true trio is Traya, Nihilus, and Savage Press. But Darth Sion, that's a personal choice. All right, so these three omicrons should be your first omicrons, probably in this order too, like Wampa, Savage, and then Traya. Wampa is a solo machine. Savage is a solo machine. Traya kills Geos, which you're going to see a lot of. She kills a lot of things. She kills GLs. So you're gonna want these three as your first omicrons. After that, it's up to you. Some honorable mentions will probably be like Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron is very good. If you wanted some TW Omicrons and you bought the Lightspeed bundle, then the Phasma one's good. TIE Fighter Pilot Omicron's decent. And then the Geo Omicron's also good. If you have the Separatist, then Droideca's Omicron's good. So there's a lot of Omicrons that you can use, but these three should probably be your first. Your first Omicrons need to go towards Grand Arena. It is the best return of investment that you can get because it's going to give you the ability to get more crystals and just be able to win more battles in Grand Arena. So that's where your first Omicrons really should go towards. All right, so once you finish Executor, you finish the Imperial Troopers, you finish CLS, now you're ready for the Jabba farm. And Jabba is going to be our first GL that we're going to go for. So to start the Jabba farm, you need Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker. So Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker requires a good amount of R3s. The good thing is we prepared mostly for this. We have Darth Vader, we have CLS, we have Wampa, we have C-3PO, we have Chewbacca. So next we're just going to have to finish off Rebel Officer Leia Organa, Lando, and then Hermit Yoda. So Rebel Officer Leia Organa, you're going to have to prioritize putting your Mark II into her, and then Hermit Yoda, your Get 1. Once you finish off Rebel Officer Leia Organa, you can use the rest of your Mark II to start finishing off Hermit Yoda. And I would recommend that because Rebel Officer Leia Organa, for get currencies, you could only get her with Get 2, which you will need for your two ships, the Malevolence and the Negotiator. So I would recommend farming them with that split, like Mark II towards Rolo, then Get 1 through Hermit Yoda. And then Wampa, I put Get 1 and Mark II, unlock Wampa, then Rolo with Mark II, then Hermit Yoda with Get 1, and then once you're done with Rolo, finish off Hermit Yoda. Lando, you just farm him, and then you should all have the rest for your relics. So you don't need the Zeta at this point for Rolo. You don't need this high of relics. You just need relic 3 for everyone. You should have higher relics on some of them though, just because of the earlier farms that. So with the Han's Millennium Falcon, with Wedge, I forgot to mention you don't need high gear for Wedge. Like gear 8, gear 9 is fine with whatever gear on Millennium's Falcon. You're gonna have to take him to relic 7. I would recommend at least putting the Zeta on his lead, and that's going to give you the challenge tier 3 for Jedi. So now you'll have 2 for Imperial Troopers, you'll have 1 for and this is at challenge tier 3. You'll have 2 at challenge tier 3 for Imperial Troopers. You'll have 1 at challenge tier 3 for Rebels. Now you'll have challenge tier 3 for Jedi, and that's going to be 4 assault battles done at challenge tier 3, which is very good. Now you'll have to increase the relics on Han Solo and C-3PO. I would recommend C-3PO's relic increases probably close to last. I would prioritize farming Jedi Knight Luke first, and then, believe it or not, Fennec Shan or Singh, I would take up to their relic levels, and that's going to give you a better bounty hunter team, because sometimes you need Aura Singh for a quick contract, and then Fennec Shan with the prior farms that we did, you're going to have a Lord Vader counter now, because you have Bam, you have Bosk, you have Grief, you have Mando. That's a Lord Vader counter right there. She doesn't need her Zetas, but decent mods definitely help. And then Boba Fett is just an amazing bounty hunter, but you already have him at R8 because you farmed the Executor, so it's just a free requirement right there. Next on the bottom here, this is Chrysanthemum. Let me hide my face real quick. So you have Chrysanthemum right here with Skiffguard Lando and Bush Leia. Believe it or not, these can wait. It is not a priority here for these guys, but you can farm them pretty quickly. Also, I didn't include it on the slide here, but let me get that up real quick. Is going to be the R3 requirements for which is pretty much just like crap. It's like absolute junk. is in the R4 here. Just a quick little mistake I made for this screenshot, but you are going to need these guys right here. So you're going to need you're going to need Jawa, Gamorrean Guard, and Mob Enforcer. So priorities, I would go Han Solo or Jedi Knight Luke to R7, Han Solo to R8, Fennec Shan or Racine. Then you can go in pretty much any order you want from here. So you can go like C3PO if you want to, just to make them more survivable. Greedos, pretty much junk. These three, believe it or not, are not that good in the beginning. So for Chrysanthemum, Skiffguard, Lando, Bush, Leia, the Hutt Cartel is just not that useful until you have Jabba. So you can go these three. In whatever order with Greedo, and then last you should probably do Jawa, Gamorrean Guard, Mom Enforcer, because they're just like complete and utter garbage, just like not useful whatsoever. And that's the farming order that I would recommend for these, just because they're not good. But once you get Jabba, that's going to be an absolute amazing farm for you, because Jabba himself gives you Smuggler's Run 2, and that's going to revitalize all your mods. He has a node on every single T beat. He's an absolute monster in TW and in Grand Arena on defense and offense, so it's a very excellent farm. You also will have to farm the Outrider. The pilot doesn't matter, you just need the stars. But it's a good ship. I would take it all the way to 7 stars, and then we'll cover the pilot later. So after you finish Jabba, you should immediately pivot towards JML. So Jabba is the JML farm after Jabba is very, very quick. And some people in R5, Obi-Wan Kenobi here, just hiding my face for a second. So people will say, well, why don't I just farm JML because it's faster and then Jabba? And I'll say this, like, you do not want to farm JML first, because JML is not a good defensive GL. Your first GL should go on that bottom front wall in Grand Arena, and JML gets beat very cheaply by a lot of different things, including a Gear 12 Traya. So you want Jabba on your bottom front wall because he's just a better defensive GL overall, and believe it or not, offense too. He's just a better GL in most game modes. The only place where JML edges out Jabba is kind of in Conquest, because you can cheese feats, but I would say I still prefer Jabba in Conquest because Jabba can beat every single node, where in the later nodes for JML, sometimes he just gets turn meter train ran on him, and then he just dies and you lose. So I would say overall Jabba's the superior GL over JML. Also, the quicker that you can start getting Smuggler's Run 2, the better your mods are going to be. So I'd rather you farm Jabba, get access to Smuggler's Run 2, and then farm JML as a quick farm afterwards. So from this point, you'll pretty much have to farm these three down here. You'll have to get Old Ben up and running a little more, and then Mon Mothma you'll have to take to R5. There are some JML requirements that are for JTR that aren't going to be specifically on here, but they're very easy. So first, you're going to need BB-8. So BB-8 is a very easy farm to get. This is the recommended characters that I would say you should farm for BB-8, because they're the fastest. They're either in shipments or a cantina farm, so you can farm these guys the fastest out of any other ones. If you want the best, you would probably want to farm the Sith Trooper, because he's on the node with the First Order Stormtrooper and then Hux. So it would probably be like Hux, Sith Trooper, Stormtrooper, if you wanted to just have like the best team. But those are hard nodes and they take a long time. So if you're just looking for the fastest team to unlock BB-8, and you can do them at very low gears, is this team right here. Next, you're going to have to unlock JTR, which you can do this at very low gear too. So you're just going to have to farm these characters. It's just a requirement. You have to do it. You'll have BB-8 from that First Order team, and then you can finish off JML from there once you have JTR at R7 with the rest of his requirements. Next, after you farm JML, we're actually going to take a detour for the Revans and Malak. So you may think, like, hey, this is pretty irregular. They don't have like an assault battle that you need, but that's where you're wrong actually, because Sith does have an assault battle with Malak. Also, you need more power. So you've been kind of farming high things, you've been farming assault battles, but Darth Revan, Jedi Knight Revan, Malak is going to give you some good depth into your account. You also have Jedi Knight Luke, you have JML. Jedi Knight Revan is going to be an important support character in that team. You can also split them up into 3 teams and 3s, like JML can solo a team or take one Jedi and duo. Jedi Knight Luke with Hermit Yoda is pretty much a team. And then Jedi Knight Revan with his requirements, also with Grandmaster Yoda, or Jedi Knight Revan, Grandmaster Yoda, and a third, so either Bastila or Jolie, is pretty much a powerhouse in 3s as well that I use all the time. And then Malak can just solo people in teams, also elevates the Jedi Knight Revan team. So this is a side farm that you're going to finish once you finish with JML. You're going to farm these characters just as fast as you can. The top ones are for Jedi Knight Revan. The bottom are for Darth Revan. You don't need to go heavy into their investment, as heavy as this. You will need the minimum requirements, gear requirements, to get the Malak, so you'll have to do that. But other than that, like, you don't have to take all these to relics. I don't recommend taking all these to relics. My account's just older, so some of these were lightspeed bundles. Some of these I farmed, like Jolie and Bastila are good, but the light side version of Bastila is a requirement for Leviathan, and that's why she's R7. So overall, very good farm, pretty quick. Don't invest any Zetas into HK. Don't invest any Zetas into Karth. You can invest some Zetas into like Jolie and I forgot his name, machine gun dude who goes with who's a Mandalorian. But these two as well, like, you don't have to invest any Zetas in them. The only Zetas I would invest here are probably 3. So Bastila, Jolie, and Badstila are the only Zetas you'll ever need on this team, pretty much, for a very, very long time. If you wanted to, you don't need to. Bastilas is more of for Jedi Knight Cal Kestis lead, but that's like way in a long road. So I would say the only Zetas at this point I would invest are the Zetas that you need for these 3 characters. Give them all their Zetas. 1 Zeta on Jolie and 1 Zeta on Badstila. And then once you get Jedi Knight Cal Kestis in the future, then you can put Bastila leads, because she's a good lead for him. All right, so this is the team that I was talking about for the assault battle that you're going to do challenge tier 3 for Sith. So you're going to go with Emperor Palpatine lead, Darth Vader, Darth Malak, Bastila Shan Fallen, and then even a Gear 12 Darth Nihilus is going to be able to do challenge tier 3. For the Sith, you don't need First Order, you don't need SOKR. Like, that's a 1-star requirement. It takes forever to do it. Like, this is going to do it at challenge tier 3. You can see I have a guide on it. You can look at my assault battle guides and my assault battle playlist, and it's going to cover all of this. But this is the next assault battle that you're going to do that's going to be challenge tier 3. You don't need these Hive relics. Again, I've just been playing this game for a while, so that's just where my characters are. After you finish the Malak farm, you're going to go into GL Leia. So GL Leia has very good farming synergy with JML and Jabba. So they share a lot of requirements. They share a lot of the CLS. They just flow really well. They synergize. So that's why you're going to go for Leia. Leia is also just a phenomenal GL. She has an event where she gives you some materials, but it's very negligible. So let's hide my face here. These are her requirements that you're going to need. So at R8, you're going to need RTD2, R7 CLS, 3 CHUPIO, R7 as well, Nisus, Rex, Scout Trooper, Drogon. These are all marquees. They're going to be a lot of Chirotech. R5, you're going to need Rolo, Cholo, Lando, and Bush Leia at R5 as well. So you probably will need a Zeta on Rolo. I've seen some guides where they recommend not doing a Zeta on her, but I found I needed the Zeta to get through her event, and I just didn't want to waste tickets. Next, we have our R3s. So Akbar, Lobot, Chief Chirpa, Wicket, all good You did have to farm Chirpa and Wicket, and this is why I said farm these characters, because there's no waste. You're going to need them for you're going to need them for the requirements for C3PO, and you can also use them, or you're going to need them for Leia, so you might as well use them for C3PO, and then you don't have to waste time with like farming garbage Ewoks for no reason. And then these are the extras that I recommend. So Baze and Mon Mothma, both at R5, at least one Zeta on Mon Mothma for her uniques so that she can't be targeted. And then that's what I'm going to use. You can use something else, like you can use like Toxic Leia with Han Chewbacca. You can use Rogue One if you want to. You can use like Captain Rex. There's a lot of variations. You can use tanks like Rebel tanks. You can use Jedi tanks. There's a lot of the fourth and fifth are very flexible. For my account, I use Baze, and I'm gearing up. Or I need to put a Zeta on my Mothma, but this is pretty much the team I'm using on my main, and that's probably what I would recommend so that you don't have to break apart other teams. It's just like farm up Baze, which is super cheap. You already have Mon Mothma for JML, just throw one Zeta on her, and then boom, you have a fully functional Leia team right there. All right, after Leia, you're going to go for the Profundity. So with the Profundity, you are going to have to farm Radis to R9. I do recommend at least 3 Zetas for the team. So Radis and Jin are 3 Zetas, 1 Omicron, and that's going to pay a lot of dividends for you. It's going to be able to beat Dark Trooper Moff Gideons. They're going to be able to beat a lot of the Empire teams, not Reva Inquisitors, but Grand Inquisitors they can beat. You're going to need R8 Cassian Andor, R7 Dash, and then you at 5 you need Jin, Bistan, Hera, and Mon Mothma. So as you can see, there's a lot of synergy here for what you have to farm later on. And then these are the ships. So you'll already have the 7-star Outrider. You'll need the Ghost, the Rebel, the Y-Wing you should have farmed already for JML. And then, you know, the 2 U-Wings, and then Wedge and Bistan's ship, which is fine. You'll just have to farm them as well. Yeah, so these are the ships you'll need, the requirements, but just go all in on the Profundity. The Rogue One team, surprisingly, is an amazing team. Offense, on defense, it's okay, but on offense, they're amazing. I love the team. They're great in Conquest 2, TW. They're very useful. I would say out of the 2 starter GL ships of Executor and Profundity, the Profundity is amazing. So once you finish this, you're going to farm Inquisitors, believe it or not. Like, Third Sister will come with time. You'll have to farm Grand Inquisitor. That's going to give you the ships. It's going to give you a Leviathan counter. At this point, you'll be ready for Inquisitors. You can just go all in on the Inquisitors. That'll be the last assault battle pretty much you need to at least do Challenge Tier 1. And then for Challenge Tier 3 for Night Sisters, you can do that whenever you want. It's going to be a personal choice. It's not going to be in this guide. But this is the last assault battle that you need, at least at Challenge Tier 1. Once you have Third Sister or Grand Inquisitor, you can do Challenge Tier 3. It's a lot harder with Grand Inquisitor lead than Third Sister lead. Is very, very simple. But at this point, it's going to take a long time. But and it's 3,200 Chirotech overall. But sooner or later, you'll have to farm these. All right, so I did wanted to make a quick caveat for these other ships. So I didn't specifically list them in here, but you should always be farming all your ships. Like every single hard node in the game, every single shard that's in the game, you need to farm them all. So don't ignore them. Don't ignore your ships. You got to farm them all. So overall, like, you can farm in whatever order you want, but after you farm Malevolence, you have to go all in on Galactic Republic. You need First Order and Resistance for Rey and SOKR. Like, the Executor Empire fleets are amazing, and then the Leviathan's amazing. It just, you'll have all the tools you'll need to farm all these. I would recommend just continuing to put in the resources there. It's kind of like a side farm that you never stop until you farm all your ships. They have separate bottlenecks than on ground because of the ship credits and ship omegas, and all the other ship resources break a lot faster than ground resources. So you should farm all your pilotless ships, farm all these ships as much as you can and just continue to build them until you break through all your bottlenecks, and then you can start using those ship credits to buy mods. But it's important that you never stop farming ships. And that pretty much covers my free-to-play farming guide. This is going to take you for a long time. It wasn't until I was about like 10 million GP that I had completed all my assault battles. So, and this free-to-play farming guide is does use my hierarchy of needs philosophy, and that's how I built it. So if you want to see the theory of why I chose this farming pathway, you can look at my hierarchy of needs, and it's going to cover exactly what my farming thought processes are and why I chose this specific farming pathway. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Overall, this is the farming pathway that I'm going to be taking with my free-to-play account. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.